Good morning,
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Victor.
Today we are
Good
going to
morning, Doctor.
start. Yeah, good morning. Today we are going to start multimodal discourse analysis. And actually, I have asked you to prepare something about it. But first, let me give you an idea about what is meant by multimodal discourse analysis and how it differs from other types of discourse analysis and why it is multimodal discourse analysis. In fact, many readings of text are constructed not just by the use of words, but of course by other combination we called other multi-modalities, such as pictures, film, video images, and sounds. The ways in which people reacted to, for example, the event of the 11th September, for example, they were very much affected by the images they saw on television, as they were by verbal reports of the events. The writers of the report, they use multimodal features and multimodal discourse according to Machine 2007 and Kress 2010. They mentioned that these multimodal features, or we call them multimodal discourse, establish proximity. What is the meaning of proximity here? Means they try to give images and pictures to let the hearer or the listeners to feel as if they are or they were in the same field of the action. So they name it proximity to the events, and they let people engaged in the event in one way or another. So the street shots from Manhattan taken to exemplify or to reflect the idea of 11 September helped, actually these shots taken helped to create proximity and involvement with the events. They compressed distance, make it very, very close, as if the hearer or listener is there beside the event. And they brought images and experiences into people's at home that would otherwise have been unavailable to them. This moved the viewer from a position of spectator to a position of witness of the event. The use of video footage, for example, to accompany the reports, put the viewer right there in the scene of the suffering as the events were unfolding. The viewers were both there, yet powerless to act. I believe this is clear, and I believe some of you might remember such accidents. So the multimodal use of discourse is a much we can consider it a feature of print genre as it is of television genres. The presentation of women, for example, in magazines, for example, relies not just on words on the page, but as much on the images that are used to accompany the words. These representations are not necessarily just local. And in the case of magazines with a worldwide network of distribution and publication, they are just as much global. The magazine Cosmopolitan, for example, is a case in print. Cosmopolitan, هذه المagazine, is published in 44 different versions across the world. This magazine depends on pictures to reflect ideas instead of words. And if there is words, if there are words in the magazine, the words they are not as much as what the picture might reflect to the audience. And Cosmopolitan is very famous, and people, they like it very much because it is full of pictures and images. So it has 44 different versions across the world the word in countries such as United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Germany, Spain, Greece, Finland, India, Taiwan, the United States, Brazil, and others. While there are local differences, and these editions, of course, of the magazine, each has its own way of presenting the language, there is also a global brand to the magazine and presentation of women in the magazine. Actually, this magazine is interested mostly on women, and it presents the power of women, but not by their minds or knowledge, rather by their body. So, Mashin and Thoramboro, 2003, mentioned that local editors of Cosmopolitan go to New York to learn about Cosmo so they can each adopt an identical focus and format in the local editions of the magazine and try to comprehend the idea of it to reflect the image in the correct way from its origin. Cosmopolitan, as Mashin and Thoramboro argue, is not just about selling magazines to its reader. It is also about selling values of independence, power, and fun. Please pay attention to this. The multimodal use of discourse in the magazine highlights this. So women appear in the magazine as a playful fantasies, images of the cafe they go to, and the clothes they wear are presented and discussed in the pages of the magazine. Cosmopolitan thus has a brand which it promotes via the magazine, as well as through other products, such as, for example, television programs, such as, for example, clothes. So it tries to reflect these things like fashion, like Cosmo Cafe, and reflects the power of the characters in it. Central to this branding are the discourse it draws on. So such a magazine concentrates and give attention to the discourse used there and the strategies it employs for the presentation of its view of women and its underlying values of independence, of power, and of entertainment. It does this through the background, the setting, the use of color, and lighting in the images it displays. It does this also through the agency it gives to women in their pursuit of men and sex. Here I want you to pay attention to the idea of cosmopolitan, of presenting women as they like fun and they are fearless. So it says nothing about the intellectual of women. Women are presented as fun and fearless with, and this is a quotation, a take charge attitude that's totally you. The quotation is adapted from Mashin and Thoramboro, 2003, page 462. Terms such as powerful and go-getting are found there frequently in the magazine to describe women in bed. Sex in the office is described as exciting and fun. See how it reflects the idea of body beauty and as a way in which a woman can achieve or maintain power. So it expresses women getting power by presenting their body. Women in the magazine, according to Mashin and Thoramboro, rely on acts of seduction and social maneuvering rather than on intellect to act in or in the world. It has nothing to do with their knowledge or with their education with their ideas about education and life. The power they have, however, is always connected, pay attention to this, to their body rather than to their professional competence. Cosmopolitan thus presents women as advancing themselves through the use of particular social and discourse strategies rather than through technical or intellectual skills. So women are aligned to هذه بمحاذاة with the values هنا انتبهوا لها and views of the magazines. The magazines views women as it is a product to be sold. انتبهوا لها to be sold. Women are as a product to be sold. These values are expressed not just in words, but through the clothes that Cosmo women wear, the lipstick they use, the way they do their hair, the places they shop, and the places they go for lunch. These are all presented to the readers of the magazines through a range of multi-modal discourse practices, each of which contributes to a particular reading of the text. So, what is actually multimodal discourse analysis? Much of the work in multimodal discourse analysis draws actually and taken from Halliday's 1978 and 1989A social semiotic approach to language. This view considers language only as one only among a number of semiotic resources. What are these other resources? They are gesture, images, and music that people use to communicate or to make meaning with each other. So language, according to this view, cannot be considered in isolation from meaning, but needs to be considered within the socio-cultural context in which it occurs. So multimodal discourse analysis thus aims to describe the socially situated semiotic resources that we draw on for communication. Halliday actually in 2009A says something. I'm going to read the exact quotation. He says, multimodal discourse analysis considers how text draw on modes of communication, such as pictures, film, video, images, and sound in combination with words to make meaning. It has examined print genres as well as genres such as web pages, film, and television programs. It considers how multimodal texts are designed and how semiotic tools such as color, framing, focus, and positioning of elements contribute to the making of meaning in these texts. In this way, Halliday describes three types of social meanings or functions. They are drawn on simultaneously in the use of language. These are, as I mentioned, or as I show you here in the clip, they are ideational, what the text is about, the idea of the text. Interpersonal means the relation between participants, and textual meaning, how the message is organized. What is the meaning of this? In multimodal text, these meanings are realized visually. Now we are going to explain them one by one, and how the image conveys aspects of the real world, the idea of the image, how the image can be conveyed in a way to reflect the real world. This is the ideational or representational meaning of the image. And how the image engage with the viewer, the participant. This is the interpersonal or modal meaning of the image. And finally, how the elements in an image are arranged to achieve its intention or effect, in which this is textual, or sometimes you call it compositional meaning of the of the image. Examples of multimodal discourse analysis that are influenced by this view include what Chris and Van Leeuwen's semiotic approach to contemporary communication. Also, Van Leeuwen's 2005A, Introducing Social Semiotics, and O'Halloran 2004A, Multimodal Discourse Analysis. Actually, there are so many writers whom they wrote about multimodal discourse analysis. Jewett 2009A describes 4 theoretical assumptions that underlie multimodal discourse analysis. The first, and this is important, is that language, pay attention to this please, is part of an ensemble of modes, each of which has equal potential to contribute to meaning. Images, gaze, and posture thus do not just support meaning, they each contribute to meaning. So this is the first. The second is that each mode of communication realizes different meanings, and that looking at language as the principle or sole medium of communication. Only if you look like this, if you look to language as a principle, it means that it is only reveal partial view of what is being communicated. It is only partial. It is not the whole thing that we communicate. There should be other elements. The third assumption is that people select from the configure and configure these various modes in order to make meaning. So they select the meaning that they understand, and they, according to these meanings, the interaction between these modes and the distribution of meanings between them are going to be part of the production of meaning. The last one, the fourth assumption, is that meanings that are made by the use of multimodal resources are, like language, they are social, and this is important. These meanings further are shaped by the norms, by the rules and social conventions for the genre that are current at the particular time in the particular context. When people communicate with each other, thus, it is seldom done by one means of communication alone, that is, by a language. They most typically draw on a number of modal simultaneously, such as images, gestures, gaze, and posture, as well as a language, of course. Each of these modes has particular affordances within the particular context. That is what it is possible to represent and express through a particular mode. The meaning potential of the particular mode is shaped by how mode has been used and what it has been repeatedly used to mean and do, and the social conventions that informs its use in context. So images, and we are going to take one type of image. Actually, there are so many. One is for Michelle Obama, the others for skin product, and also for Obama himself. So images have been given special attention in much of the work in multimodal discourse analysis. These images may include photographs, diagrams, maps, or even cartoons. So images further can be seen as having a grammar of their own. For example, the social relationship between an image and its viewer is strongly influenced by whether the subject in the image establishes eye contact with the viewer or does not. Each of these possibilities could be seen as an example of mood, where eye contact could perhaps suggest a demand, whereas no eye contact might suggest an offer, right? Okay, the point of view or perspective of the image is also relevant. For example, and I want you to pay attention to this, a horizontal image suggests involvement as the viewer is on the same level as the subject of the image. Now, a high angle shot might suggest superiority, while a low angle shot may suggest what? Respect. Now, other meanings also are conveyed through the distance of a shot. For example, close versus medium versus long. Moreover, the lighting, the color, the focus of the shot, and the extent to which the image in the shot aims to reflect reality or not. So all these should be taken into consideration when we want to analyze multimodal in a multimodal way of analysis. So let's take this image. The 1st of June 2009 issue of Time magazine, this is the magazine, its name is the Time magazine, carried a picture of Michelle Obama with the accompanying text. As you see, there are small words above the picture, very big word written in red, the title of the magazine, and below the face there is the meaning of Michelle. The meaning of Michelle, and if you want, I can give you the website www.time.com/time/covers/0, 16641, 2009 0601, 00.hetman. In this image, Michelle Obama looks straight, as you see in the photo here, straight at the camera, establishing eye contact with the reader. Her face occupies the whole page, providing a closeness which also involves the reader. The image is well lit and is in focus. The shot is horizontal, suggesting the reader is on the same level as the subject of the image. The image thus aims to be read as true and real, and one that connects with its reader. Now, the layout of the page and the placement of the image on it are also significant in that they each convey a certain information value as well as communicate the salience of the message to the readers. The Michelle Obama image is centrally placed on the page so as to be most eye-catching. Also, it further occupies the whole page, as you see, dominating it in a way that gives a particular weight to the image. The image is centrally framed. See the frame? Is centrally framed within the borders of the magazine cover and supported by the text. So the meaning of Michelle showing how these two elements, the words and the image, clearly belong together, providing a strong intermodal complementary to the elements on the page. This image also further makes a strong interpersonal connection with the readers by its use of front-on angle, showing involvement, extreme close-up, in which it creates close social distance, and also her eyes making direct contact with the readers, in which it shows visual focalization. Each of the aspects of the composition of the page, they are information value, salience, and framing, together with the interpersonal connection of the image, makes with its readers, thus come together, all these come together to encourage a certain reading of the page, because the most important thing for the page is to sell the copies of their magazine. Chris, in 2010, in Multimodality, a social semiotic approach to contemporary communication, provides a social semiotic theory of multimodality. Among other things, he mentions a social semiotic theory of multimodality should ask the following questions. What meaning is being made in a text? How is meaning being made in the text? What resources have been drawn on to make the meaning in the text? In what social environment is the meaning being made? And whose interest and agency is at work in the making of that meaning? It does this by considering modes such as writing, images, color, and facial expressions, and the relation between them. It considers this theory: which mode is foregrounded, which mode carries major informational weight, and which mode has what function in the text. Now, in the case of the cover of Time, the image of Michelle Obama is foregrounded and carries the major informational load in the text. Of course, it aims to attract readers to buy, as I mentioned, the magazine and read the article on Michelle Obama within its pages. The text in this is written within the early days of Barack Obama's time as the President of the United States, and in its image and text describes Michelle Obama, who is both casual and in charge. The image that is chosen for the cover and its presentation conveys exactly this message. It is an orderly yet inviting image that parallels the way she is described in the text inside the pages of the magazine. The authors of the text, Gibbs and Shearer, 2009, clearly have an interest in presenting this image to their readers and give agency to their subject by presenting with sympathy her personal views on life in the White House as the First Lady and the way she conducts herself in this role. So they present these all by using multimodal discourse analysis. Now we are going to come to genre, speech act, and multimodality. Value 1, 2005A, 2005B discusses speech acts and genre in relation to multimodality. Using these two notions, which is speech acts and genre, to capture the how versus the what of multimodal communication. A key point he draws from speech acts theory is how a speech act is both an elocutionary act, which means what the speech act is aiming to do, and a perlocutionary act, the effect it has on the thoughts and actions of people. So an advertisement, for example, this one. So let's have a look to this advertisement. May aim to persuade a person to buy a particular product. This is, of course, the elocutionary act. If the person is convinced by the advertisement and buys the product, and this is the effect or perlocutionary force of the advertisement. Text thus drawn a range of modalities to create a perlocutionary effect. It is not just the words of the advertisement that persuade a person to buy the product. It is through the use of of linguistic and also of visual resources might they come in combination with other non-linguistic and contextual factors that this occurs and make it easy for others to like, to be persuaded, and to buy. Valuan discusses how genres provide resources or templates for doing things. The genre of surface encounters, for example, and accompanying stages provide a conventionalized way of getting things done. Of course, in this case, to buy the magazine or to buy the product in a particular culture. Now, part of this will or may be done through language. Through language, but it is only partially, as well as through action, such as handing goods and a credit card to a salesperson. With the case of other genres, such as taking money, for example, from an automatic teller machine. I believe you know this, this way of getting money. So here in this machine, you never depend on someone to tell you how to do things, because you will find that in the teller machine you will find buttons, and over the buttons or beside the buttons either there is a description by images or instructions by words to tell you how to use and what to press to get your money from it. So it tells you how to insert the card, which button to press to complete the event. Actually, in some cases, you find even, you know, there is a monitor, يعني like شاشة مثل ما نقول باللغة العربية, monitor, show you the way. This is in very particular types of stores. They call it IKEA stores. There you will find a clip of video to show customers how to manage, and then customers are able to complete purchase themselves by using a machine and without even interacting with a salesperson at all. So according to the video or the pictures there, they can manage and they can get their money easily. Throughout all of this, however, there will be routine ways in which the genre is performed, and often typical stages through which it moves, many of which may be multimodal, in order to successfully complete, of course, the transaction. Now, multimodal, let's have a look to this. I think this is a clinic for facial. Sometimes we have here skin treatment here. Mashin and Valuan 2007 discussed genre and multimodality in relation to global media discourse, taking the example of advertisements in Cosmopolitan magazine. They show how their representations aim to create a certain perlocutionary effect on readers. That is, to use or purchase a particular service or a product. Using the example of an advertisement for a health diet clinic, they show how the advertisement employs a problem solution rhetorical structure to do this. The problem presented in the advertisement is skin problems. The solutions are in the diet clinic guidance and advice and the purchasing of a particular product, in which it is the diet clinic skin care system. The problems are expressed by use of strategies such as an image, for example, of blemished skin, with accompanying text such as, do you suffer from skin problems? The solution is a picture of the product for sale. The result is a picture of unblemished skin, both words and images, of course, interact in the advertisement to construct their particular message and to encourage and persuade people to buy. Now, genre and multimodality framework. Bateman, 2008, discusses genre in relation to written genres, saying that nowadays, so now I'm going to read his quotation. He says, text is just one strand in a complex presentational form that seamlessly incorporates visual aspects around and sometimes even instead of the text itself. So genre, he argues in this quotation, plays a role, a central role in all of this, in that it is able to account for the range of possibilities for how multimodal texts are realized and the ways in which we can interact with them. He proposes a genre and multimodality framework that provides several layers of description for multimodal text. These are content structure, the genre structure, the rhetorical structure, the linguistic structure, the layout structure, and finally the navigation structure of the text. Each of these, of course, operates within the constraints of the physical nature of the text being produced. For example, if I am producing a paper or screen size, constraints arising from production technologies, for example, the usage of page limit, color, size of graphics, or deadlines, and consumption constraints, for example, time, place, and manner of obtaining and consuming the document, the ease with which the text can be read. A summary of Bateman framework can be seen in a table I make here. These are, as you see, the 6 assumptions he mentions and he presents. Now, the cover, let's come to this and apply them on the cover of the Time magazine referred to earlier. Thus, was constrained by the size of the page of the magazine, the 1-page limit for the cover, and the need to produce a text that would be easily recognized and read. It was not limited, however, by the use of color, even though color is actually very simple, but it has, you know, many ideas, many information. As you see, there are not much colors. They are very much simple. They are only red and black and white. The background is white. Yet effectively in the text, they work in a very effective way. The color is intense and intensively saturated. It means it is full. The color is full, as if it takes its limits. يعني مشبع. It is also maximally dark and pure. يعني هسه احنا اذا نباوع الى الخط الاحمر اللي هو يصير الفريم مال المجازين، يعني تشعر انه هو ماخذ مساحته وتحسه انه هو ريتش، يعني مطينا الشيء اللي نريده احنا، فتشوفه بيور، تشوفه نقي. giving high value to the color، يعني المجلة دا تحاول قدر الامكان انه تبرز الكلر، لان كل كلر له meaning. يعني for example the red background of the page ايش راح ينطينا هذا؟ suggest warmth. شوفوا الريد suggest what؟ warmth، energy and salience. طيب in terms of content structure، هسه اذا جينا للجدول content structure, the text is equally simple. There is just the single image of Michelle Obama. فإذا هو simple and brief title that gives a clue to the content of the article inside the journal. زين. إذا أجينا إلى genre structure, the image and the text appear simultaneously, making up just single move, a lead into the main text. طيب إذا أجينا لل-rhetorical structure, the rhetorical structure is equally simple, made up of background اللي هو الإيمج and the elaboration اللي هو التايتل of the article اللي راح ينطينا extra information about the image. There is also a given in you arrangement according to Holiday 1985, a given in you to the Time magazine cover, where the image is the information that is already known. احنا من نحكيها اكو عندنا information given in which these information are well known to the readers, and the text is what is not yet known by them. يعني احنا اول مره نعطي given information ونعطي بالعنوان فد عباره to give us the idea that there is something new you don't know. This new element then becomes the given component of a new given in new relationship when the reader turns to the text inside the magazine. راح يكون هناك فد curiosity بداخل نفس القارئ حتى من يشوف الكلمة الجديدة اللي هو ما سامعها انه يقلب صفحات المجلة فيشوف شنو الموجود بها. Now, إذا جينا إلى linguistic structure of the key verbal component of the text are a single noun اللي هي time and a noun group اللي هي the meaning of Michel. The layout structure follows expected conventions for covers of Time magazine, with the image being given central place. إذن بالlayout وين يخلوها in the central place, and the title of the magazine اللي هي الارتكل and other articles in the issue placed above and below the main image. فيعطينا صورة للإيمج، يخلينا title of the image اللي هو one word كبيرة وباللون الأحمر كالإطار حتى يلفت النظر، وبعدين other titles راح يكون يعني تشوفوه above and below the image in what Kress and Value in 2007 terms سموه vertical triptych. سموه vertical triptych arrangement of the page. طيب نجي للنافيجيشن structure، يعني الستراكشر المتنقل for the written text requires the reader to consume the image and its caption before reading the full text of the article by opening the page of the magazine. يعني هذا راح يصير attraction للreaders و encouragement إنه يروح يفتح لنا pages of the magazine to read. The online version of the article interestingly راحت من حلقي interestingly has a different and less dramatic image of Michelle Obama. طبعا لأن هي online فراح يكون بها الimage less dramatic at the top of the page, and you can see this in the website engine I gave you. This image, as with the paper version of the magazine, also sets the scene for article. Readers then scroll down the page to read the full article or hit the print option to create a paper copy of the article. الطريقة بالأونلاين is not like if you read the magazine itself. In online they will use less attraction images because the page will be appear to them as full. It needs only to scroll down to read the full information about the article. Now, multimodal modality and newspaper or newspaper genre. Capel 2009-2010 and Knox 2007-2010 discuss newspaper genres from a multimodal perspective and how new technologies are leading to evolutions in these journals. Cabell gives the example of image nuclear news stories, that is, stories which comprise just a photograph and a heading and or a short caption. Next discusses news bites, online newspaper text, which comprise a headline and an image with a hyperlink to a full story. Image nuclear news stories, in contrast with news bites, are independent text in themselves and do not point to a fuller story elsewhere in the newspaper, since people actually very much interested in knowing what is going on to nuclear. So sometimes there is no need to attract their attention by using the same strategies or assumptions mentioned previously, because the topic itself can attract others' attention. Newspapers often draw on the strength of visual image and image nuclear news stories and capture and retain. Why? To capture and retain the interest of their readers. In the majority of the text, she found, Knox, the headings that accompanied the image were an idiomatic expression that fitted with the subject matter of the photograph. For example, in an image nuclear news story about drought in China, there was an image of dry, cracked earth, which had central prominence in the photo, with the row of people in the background carrying work tool. The heading that accompanied the image, "Dry Hard with a Vengeance," was a play on the 1995. Actually, this play about nuclear, the title of it is "Dry Hard with a Vengeance." This article has been shifted to a film, and I believe you know that film. The film is Die Hard, and it talks. Actually, it is the third edition of the film Die Hard, in which in that film the idioms used, the pictures used, the expressions used attract the audience attention and capture their attention and let them captured from the beginning to the end. They are eager to know what is going on. So the three components of the text are the heading, which appears above the text, the image, which has central place, and the caption, which appears in a smaller font beside the image. The image orients the reader to the event being reported on, and together with the headings provides an intertextual reference to the reader's knowledge of the idioms. And actually, they make like a vote, and they ask audience about what expressions they know. Most audience remember only the expressions found in the shots above and below the pictures, because there are advertisements about the movie before, or trailer of the movie before putting it on television. So people remember the titles, the modes, the titles on the modes where there are shots. So what is written up above the shot, below the shot, people keep remember these. Online newspapers, online newspapers, Knox mentioned or points out, are much more fluid and dynamic than print-based newspaper. And that's why they can be, and often are, updated, as you know, continuously. The entry point of to online newspapers is actually their homepage, in which you can read immediately and know immediately what is going on. So there is no need to to turn on the pages. There is no need for that, since you are going uh, to roll the mouse and read it immediately. Okay. Here there is a table. Let's have a look to this table, please. The homepage, if you read a magazine online, the homepage provides an overview of news of the day, and in particular the news that the editors or owners of the newspaper consider most important. So within the homepage, there are section pages which orient the readers to news in particular areas of interest, such as the domestic. If you notice Yahoo, for example, you open the website of Yahoo, you will see there is a column in which you can choose from that column sections that you like, such as art, for example, sports, for example, news, science. So there are so many. Entertainment, you can choose whatever you like. So it is easy to purchase rather than the print-based newspapers. New websites are often single sentence news stories with a link to a fuller story. The function of the news bites is to highlight the most important stories of the day. And also we can find this, of course, with the print-based newspaper, but not like the online newspaper. They use certain attraction to attract people's attention. The positioning of the page, the font they use, the size of the headlines, the color, and the size of the image all participate in reflecting something that attracts the audience attention. These are multimodal. These are multimodal strategies. So Knox 2007 identifies three key elements to the genre of news bites: the heading أو الهيدلاين نسميها أحيانا, and the lead, typically the first sentence of the fuller text, and the link to the complete text. If you remember, when I start describing this topic and I talked about Michelle Obama or the Time magazine, I gave you the engine of the website to follow. So this is the link to the complete text. Sometimes because people or publisher understands that people don't like to read more. So what happens? The publisher will give you the main ideas to guarantee your access to that news, because what is important is to access to that news. So when you access to that news, the publisher will give you very small information, and there is a link if you want to read more. But the publisher is very much smart, because with the explanation or with the news, he is going to add multimodal materials like pictures, clip of video, highlight the words, color the words, use different types of fonts to attract your attention to read more. Sometimes the link is indicated by the words, for example, full report. Yani you will find full up or read more. Often also the link is a hyperlink from the headline or an illustration that accompanies the text. The stance of the newspaper and its relationship with its readers are reflected in the presentation of the homepage and the news bites that are placed on it. These pages thus have a strong interpersonal value and create an environment in which the texts are read. Knox 2010 give such a table, this table. This is going to talk about multimodality in film and television genres. Because multimodality has been also discussed in relation to film and television genre. Okay, IDEMA 2001 provides a framework for the analysis of film and television by drawing on work in film theory and genre theory. Shabab, have a look to these because you are going to analyze a picture according to this, to these frames. And this, the levels of the analysis in which IDEMA proposes are frame, as you see, shot, scene, sequence. Of course, this is taken from film theory, generic stage, and work as a whole. These levels are summarized here with explanation for each. Yani, suppose I'm going to give you a picture, and I'm going to do that, of course. And this is this will be your task, of course. Suppose I'm going to give you a picture. I want you to describe or analyze it according to IDEMA's level of analysis. To take the opening section of Barack Obama's 2008 victory speech, so خلينا نجي إلى Barack Obama in his victory speech, this one. Actually, I have brought here many different angles for Barack Obama. The link is HTTP column // edition .cnn.com/2008 /politics, all capital letter, politics /11/Obama.tra. It is transcript, but I'm going to spell it. TRANSCRIPT / then that mark like window, CNN, then capital letter STCV, then small letter IDEO. This is the engine for the website. We may choose to look at Obama's victory speech, the single framework from the event, such as when he delivers his opening line. What did he say? He said, if there is, 1 minute, 1 minute. If there is anyone out there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still questions the power of our democracy, tonight is your answer. This is the opening of his victory speech. At this moment, Obama is alone on the stage, looking at his audience with a flag of the United States in the background, you see. You see. The composition of the frame and the shot come together to provide both the orientation and the point of departure for the rest of the speech. In terms of distance, the shot is close. يعني أول ما أخذنا شنو؟ أخذنا الباك جراوند، بعدين أخذنا الكمبوزيشن اللي هو الفريم ورك and the shot، بعدين أخذنا distance the shot is close, just his head and shoulders, especially with this one, as you see, suggesting a close social distance between him and his viewers, because they make the picture very close, as if he is very much close to his viewers. The flag in the background, this flag in the background of the shot reminds us of the context of the speech, because it is a fictional speech. In terms of perspective, هسه نجي لمن؟ للperspectives. The shot is horizontal with Obama at the center of the frame. وين هو صاير؟ at the center of the frame. بالسنتر بالضبط. زين. This plus his manner, gaze, and use of language aim to connect with the audience. This moment, and in turns the shot, is part of a large scene which takes place at a very particular time. شنو هو التايم؟ اللي هو the evening of election day, the 4th of November 2008. And place the victory rally in Grant Park in Chicago, Illinois, where Obama was a junior senator. Now, إذا أجينا in terms of sequence, the camera has moved from a shot of waving. شوفوا هنا هسه هو بيده إشارة دا يحكي. A shot of waving to a person, to someone, to this one. So there is a shift from this camera to another camera, to other one, immediately shift from him to a USA flag held by someone in the crowd, and then continues with Obama in the center frame, this, and then in this he says, "Until tonight is your answer." The camera then moves to a shot of Obama at the podium with a row of USA flags in the background. The first rows of the crowd are, of course, in front of him, the first row of people, many of whom are taking photos, as you see here. So here he is in the middle, and here, as you see, someone is carrying the flag and someone is taking camera photo for him. And this, here she is holding a flag. So the photographer is very smart in taking these shots. The generic stage is the introduction to the speech, and the work as a whole, is very early classified as an expository genre, a vector speech. So they put the victory speech as the genre of the speech. Due to its rhetorical character, the place and occasion on which it occurs, as well as its intertextual relationship with the previous victory speeches delivered by former president-elect. So you can move and try to manage the whole types, the content, the rhetorical, the layout, so the content, context of situation, all these can you comprehend from the shot taken from the victory of speech. Now, multimodality and film trailers. I believe many of you have followed the trailers for movies. You will find that the people there responsible for doing the trailers are very much smart. So they try to give you shots in which these shots attract your attention and encourage you to watch the movie. So Maya discusses multimodality in relation to film trailers. She actually describes trailers for comedies as typically having the stages shown in the following table. The first stage she lists, let me show you the table here, this table. She lists implicitly promotional. These relations, these relate to information that is part of the story of the film. اللي هو diegetic information. The next stage, diegetic information. The next set of stages is explicitly promotional. Explicit promotional. They often mix together information about the story of the film and information that is not part of the story of the film. يسموها non-diegetic, yes, non-diegetic and diegetic information. So the new one, non-diegetic information, such as voice cover commentaries, evaluations, and recommendations. Not all film trailers have all of these stages, but most seem to contain a combination of them. Maya shows how the modes of voice, music, images, and text all contribute to the goal or function of each section of the trailer. The fragments of the film that are presented in the trailer and the voice cover commentaries on them thus combine together to create the overall goal of the trailer to promote the film. So this is the table. Now, carrying out multimodal discourse analysis. The steps involved in carrying out multimodal discourse analysis, وهذا طبعا اللي هو شغلنا احنا, are similar to those of any discourse analysis project. A difference does lie, however, in how the data is analyzed and what aspects of the data are seen to contribute to the meaning of the text, whether it is spoken or written data. It first of all needs to be collected. First, you have to collect the data. The data then needs to be logged. That is, the data needs to be summarized in some way or another with accompanying notes that will help to give a contextual understanding of the data. إذن أول مرة I have to know what data, how the data is analyzed, what aspect of the data seem to contribute to the meaning of the text. And then I have to collect the data and then to log them, I mean to summarize them in one way or another. And I accompany them with notes that will help to give a contextual understanding of the data. Additional commentary can be added also here, where first thoughts or ideas about the data can be recorded that can be pursued in greater depth in the analysis. So, it is necessary to repeatedly view the data. If it is video format, if it is a picture, for example, focus on both the sound and vision of the data. The vision only and the sound only is not relevant. So we have to focus on both of them. If the data is print or web-based text, for example, you should take a similar approach, considering what each mode that has been used. For example, what words, font, format, images that might contribute to the overall meaning of the text and the ways in which they each are doing this. These features, of course, can then be considered in relation to the contextual notes that were made when I said when collecting the data, if necessary, you have to collect also notes and put it beside these data to make things clear for you. From this data, the extracts need to be chosen that will be the focus of the analysis. So take the data, take only the extracts that are important to the analysis. So in most cases, there will be far too much data for analysis. So there is a need to be selective in terms of what will be examined. Suppose you collect the data and it is very much. So you have to select it from the data to put it in your work. But of course, you have to analyze the whole data separately and gives in the analysis a summary or a table to summarize the percentages and frequencies of the whole data collected. The focus could be on some aspect of the data that seems to stand out. Of course, you can then go back to the larger data set to see to what extent this is typical of the particular data set you have collected. You should then proceed to the more detailed analysis of the data, which may be quite different, of course, in some ways from how you might analyze other data from a discourse analytical perspective, because multimodal means that you are going not analyze words, because you have to analyze other perspectives. And now it is clear for you, since you have table and you can analyze according to the table. Baldry and Rebold 2005 provide detailed guidelines for how to transcribe and analyze data from a multimodal perspective. This is also a model in which you can depend on it. Those writers discuss printed text, such as advertisements or cartoons, web pages, as well as film and television journals. So this is a ready-made model. Baldry and Rebold use the data of cluster to refer to groupings of items on a print or web page, and cluster analysis to capture how these parts of text are connected to other items rather than separate from each other. These, of course, these connections are important in the words of, according to Baldry and Rebold. They cut something. They say that it is the cluster and the relationship between the clusters rather than the individual parts of the individual clusters that make meaning in a specific context. So they encourage clusters, meaning collected ideas, collected data. So in terms of film and television journals, Baldry and Rebold discussion includes بالنسبة إلى الفيلم أو التلفزيون إيش قالوا shots, phases and transitions between phases in these genres are very much important. They also discuss the relation between the soundtrack and the images of the scene and ways in which these features of the soundtrack, such as music, provide contextual ground to the image. How they combine them to make them like, I believe you know what is sound cluster. So now they are talking about data clusters. Now, in all of this, their aim here is to show the relationships between context of situation with genre and context of cultures in multimodal genres. How we cluster them in a way to make them all work together. Prior 2013 and Street, Buffel and Rowell 2009 highlight the value of employing ethnographic research techniques as a way of helping us better understand the production and consumption of multimodal genre. So here they give us a model to let us employing ethnographic research and give us techniques to make us better understand the production and consumption of multimodal genre. Moll and Prayer together in 2008 For example, they collected book reports. شوف ايش سووا. Collected book reports, posters, newspapers, and reaction papers written by whom? By graduate courses in the areas of architecture, also musics and civil and entertainment environmental engineering at large in the USA universities. So they go to the universities, they collect environmental engineering, they collect civil engineering, they collect music and graduate courses in architecture, term papers, reaction papers from students. They collect them in a book. So they collected from all over the USA universities. They interviewed students and teachers and collected courses documents such as syllabi, handouts, and course evaluations. They collect all these in a book. They analyzed the students' texts as well as observed classes. So they did very big job, very great job. They found that many of the texts the students were producing were multimodal and could not be neatly divided into verbal and non-verbal sections. The visual elements in the students' text they found often occurred within and were integral to the verbal text and were not separated from them. Yesterday when I asked you to describe the types of ambiguity, some of you, they use diagrams to make things clear. So he or she is using multimodal strategy in describing the task. The interviews and other data they obtained gave them important insights into how the students' texts were evaluated and the relation between the students' texts and other texts that they draw on. Moll and Player conclude by arguing for the importance of examining multimodal text in ways that help us understand not just what the final products look like, but also the processes through which they are produced and in turn read by their intended audience. But though it is very much important to analyze all these aspects and strategies to give us a clear idea of the text, there is of course some limitations concerning multimodal discourse analysis. So what are these limitations? IDEMA 2001 discusses limitations of multimodal discourse analysis. Among these is the amount of time it takes. Yes, I do agree. The amount of time it takes to do this kind of analysis. Also, he points out while the analysis may at some stages be quite technical, it can also, like all discourse analysis, be very interpretive. Multimodal analysis also less often look at readers or viewers' readings of text. So it never looks at the readers themselves. It looks at their responses. Okay, McCall, for example, in 1991, has pointed out that analyst readings are not always the same as actual readings of the text. Multimodal texts, further, are often examined on the basis of the final product alone and are not considered in relation to the people who were involved in its creation. Further limitations are tied up in the aims and the scope of multimodal discourse analysis. So while multimodal analyses pay attention to the features of communication that are often left out of other approaches to discourse analysis. Also, there is sometimes less attention given to the aspect of language because they consider it as partial and not that much important. So they never pay attention to the aspects of language that approaches to discourse analysis might consider. There is also the issue of how the analyses can be linked to wider social issues. This can, however, be dealt with by linking the analyses to wider social theories, such as in the work of Machen and Van Leeuwen, 2007, who connect multimodal analysis to discussions of global media communication and the theories that inform that work. The use of ethnographic data to provide insights into the context of production and consumption of the text can also be extremely useful for linking multimodal discourse analyses to broader social and contextual issues. Now we reach to the summary. This chapter has provided an overview of multimodal discourse analysis, an approach which considers how texts that employ more than one mode of presentation, such as words and graphics, make meaning. It has provided the theoretical background to multimodal discourse analysis, as well as given examples of analyses that have been carried out from this perspective. It has also discussed relations between genre, speech acts, and multimodality together. A genre and multimodality framework has then been presented as a proposal for examining layers of meaning in multimodal text. A number of suggestions have been made for steps involved in carrying out multimodal discourse analysis. Limitation of multimodal discourse analysis have been also discussed. Here we reach to the end of the lecture. I thank you very much for your attention and concern. Thank you very much for attending this lecture. I hope you benefit from it. And now we will come back to the discussion concerning